Nice blouse. Like that Santa touch.
Donna is ready for Christmas.
Yep.
The rest of us may not be, but Donna is ready.
There you go.
Good to see.
I think last December I had a wreath in the background, but I totally forgot this year. It's like
Yeah, okay.
so much for set design.
I think.
Hi, can you guys hear me? This is Ken
I can hear
Johnson.
you.
Yeah, Ken.
Okay, great.
We hear you. You're on your phone, I see.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. We have yet. Tom's not going to make it. I know that.
Nadine.
But we've got Nadine. And I talked to her earlier, so I know she's coming.
Okay.
We'll give it another minute or so before, and then also the fire chief, before gaveling it to order. Everybody has fireproof Christmas trees and all of that.
Just make sure you keep them watered. If you have
Well,
live trees.
I'll tell you,
Thank you, David.
If you got it, if you already have it, count the days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they dry out pretty quickly, even with the nice little, water base and all of that. If you can easily pull a needle off, it's time to get the tree out of the house.
Yeah.
And I had sent the fire chief a video clip from a fire that was a Christmas tree fire. It was actually a fatality that by coincidence was recorded by a security camera in the apartment. And the camera didn't survive, but I was able to surgically extract the memory chip, clean it up, and extract the video clip. And one of the things that it shows is that from initiation, from the first ignition to it's all over, 5 seconds.
Wow.
Oh, that's like a bomb.
All the more reason to not have a live tree in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you're going to have a live tree, have a real live tree. Have one that you're going to plant afterwards.
Right.
Roots and all of that. That's a tradition that some folks have taken up, and I think it's a great idea. Welcome, Chief White.
And his new glasses.
Hello there.
Yes, with new glasses.
Well, I don't know, maybe.
Not new for the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at my desk today, so that I think has something to do with the glasses I have on.
Okay. All
So
right.
We've been working through a couple of small idiosyncrasies as usual, so I think we've got it figured out.
Yeah, well, that's life, as they say. Okay, we have a quorum. I think Nadine will log in here shortly, but I am going to gavel the meeting to order at 4:04, the December meeting. Nadine joining us. The December 2022 meeting of the San Rafael Fire Commission. So welcome all. Do we have any members of the public present? Not that I can see and what have you. So I'm going to move right along with the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last month? Do I have any corrections, additions, or deletions?
Not for me.
Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. anyone like to make a motion in that regard?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second. This is Ken Johnson.
Okay, moved by Stan, seconded by Ken. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any in opposition, say nay. The minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Donna, what do we have from the Fire Commission, Fire Foundation?
So I have a
This-
trivia question before we jump to that. As
Oh,
an
okay.
As an alternate, my understanding is we're not allowed to vote, so I stay silent when you're asking for approval of minutes, et cetera, correct?
It's a good question, and I am not 100% certain on that, but I'll look it up in Robert's Rule of Order.
Yeah, I just was told as an alternate, we have no voting power, so I'm not staying silent because I don't care. I'm staying silent because I'm not allowed to talk.
I think you, well, yeah, that's not true. I think as an alternate, you would vote if you were the third member constituting a quorum. That's really the function of an alternate, is to ensure that there is a quorum in cases where some of the appointed members have to be absent. So,
And are you saying it takes 3 to make a quorum?
I'm sorry,
How many does it take to make a quorum?
it takes 3.
Thank you.
It takes a majority. In this case, we have 5 appointed members, and 3 is a quorum. So,
Thank you. So trivia question for everyone. The foundation did provide me with the new t-shirts for the fire department that everyone on the foundation wanted you to have. How do you wish me to distribute them? Leave them at the public safety center or wait until we see each other in person?
well, let me table that. Let's see if we can get back to it in a minute, because I put a request in at the last meeting, as some of you may recall, to see if we can resume meeting in person in 2023. And when we get to talking to the fire chief in a couple of minutes, maybe we can get that question answered. And if in fact we are able to meet in person, and I hope we will be able to, that would be the perfect opportunity.
Okay, so the foundation, we didn't have a formal meeting this month. We met actually last Friday at La Toscana. I hosted a luncheon to honor Jack Devlin for his years of service as the chair of the foundation. It was the first time that we had all been able to be together in 3 years. It was the first time that our new person on the foundation, the CPA and treasurer, hadn't met us in person, numerous of us. So it was really a lovely time and fun was had by all. And I know Jack was very pleased that we basically thanked him for his years of service.
You know, I'm glad to hear that you did that. Jack and his wife Kathy have been just foundational leaders in San Rafael for decades. As a matter of fact, Kathy served on the Fire Commission for a number of years. And when she resigned to do other things, I took her seat and have been here ever since. Great people, and have been active in many capacities over many decades, and worthy of accolades, that's for sure. Anything else from the Fire Foundation?
Nope.
Okey doke. That being said, I'm going to move right on to commissioner reports, and as is my custom, I will defer and go last and let Nadine take the lead.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you. I know I've missed a few of our meetings these past few times, so nothing to share other than it's really good to see you. And I hope that some of you and all of you are attending tonight's committees and commissions reception. And then if not, it is going to be really nice when we can see each other in a non-virtual environment.
Okay, well, that said, I hope everyone is going to be able to go this evening. I probably will not, imagining that I'm going to be fading by the time this meeting is over, but I encourage everybody to go. We are usually in Mexico at this time of year. This has been unusual that our trip this year was short and we're back, but it took it out of the old guy and I haven't quite recovered yet. So, okay, Ken, anything you would like to chime in with?
You know, I try to bring something to the game every month, and I don't have anything in particular this month. It's just more of the same in the insurance industry for fire. It's a bad, the property market continues to get worse for the January 1 renewals.
Yeah, I hear that. I just got another bill for insurance from one of our insurance carriers, and it's not a happy occasion. Okay. Thank you, Ken. David.
So a couple of things. First off, just excellent to see the progress on Station 55. And I think the chief may talk about that a little bit in the report, but they got the numbers up this week. So that's really cool to see the numbers on the exterior of the building, but it's looking great. The other item is I had a call last week with Thomas and Danielle from the fire department staff. And what we were doing, it was picking up on the community awareness program that I've been working with David on a couple of years ago. And that is using some of the social media channels and Nextdoor and Hotshot and other ways of promoting awareness around fire safety to the community. So as you may recall, I had developed this editorial calendar that had quite a bit of content. One of which I think, Larry, it was a video very similar to what you were describing of a Christmas tree and how quickly it gets engulfed in flames and combusts and can create, you know, obvious safety issues. And so we also had things so that would be around Christmas time. And then we had other topics around fireworks of 4th of July and things like that. So we spent a good hour or so talking about it, and they had some good ideas too about finding some content in Spanish language in addition to English. And so they're going to spend a little bit of time running through that editorial calendar that I had developed, and then we'll probably connect again maybe in January, early January, and talk about next steps. So I'm really happy to have had that meeting, and hopefully we've got this program re-energized and can start using all those different social channels that are available to us to promote awareness within the community.
No, it sounds good because, you know, an awful lot of folks today get 90% of their information, news and otherwise, via social media. And unfortunately, social media is all too often not a really reliable source. And in fact, can be a bad source of information. So good to hear that we're getting something positive out there and something that'll be helpful in the community.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yep.
Stan the man, let's hear from
All
Stan.
right, two quick things. I'm continuing to work with the Homeowners Association here in Fair Hills, where I live, relating to the no parking rules that are now in place. And we're going to probably formalize some suggestions back toward the city about the signs themselves as an example All of them that have gone up so far simply say no parking anytime. It's a little not confusing, but the way they're spread out, it leaves the impression it's no parking on one side and not necessarily both. When in fact, signs are available, had we purchased them, that say no parking either side. Two for the price of one, as an example, but other things. In general, except for one particular location on the hill, everybody's taken to the program fairly well. And there haven't been too many major issues. One being an Airbnb that I won't go any further in a public meeting. So that said, the other is a shout out, and I'm not sure if it's to MWPA or Caltrans or both, but I've noticed outside our arena, outside San Rafael, down in the Strawberry area of Mill Valley, they have just wiped out a hillside of trees that needed to go years ago. They're gone now. And they're also working on the Waldo grade out of Mill Valley up and over to the Golden Gate, which has simply been a eucalyptus jungle for years. And they're beginning to thin the crop on the side of the hill, and that's a good thing to see. So if that's MWPA, congrats. If it's Caltrans, congrats, and keep it up.
Okay. Yeah, eucalyptus.
Yeah.
The torch tree. Okay, thank you, Stan. Circling back, Donna, do you have anything you want to add above and beyond? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So my turn at the microphone, and I have almost nothing to say. Pablo and I left for Mexico not long after our last meeting and just came back a few days ago. So I've been kind of out of circulation in Marin County. But before I left, and I mentioned this before the meeting really started, I had sent Chief White a video clip of a Christmas tree fire in one of my apartment buildings from several years ago. It turned out to be a fatal, and it was recorded on a security camera that the tenant had installed with our consent. And it just happened to have recorded this incident. And one of the things that is pretty clear, the fire occurred on evening of January 2nd. So it was not long after Christmas. And one of the things that it shows, unfortunately, very graphically, is that from the moment of ignition to full engulfment, 5 seconds. And unfortunately, the individual who was in the room, who accidentally started the fire, didn't have a chance. And not only did the flaming tree combust in 5 seconds, but the room was filled with smoke in 7 or 8 seconds. And I can tell you from the aftermath of the fire, the smoke was very, very heavy. And it was throughout the apartment. It was a small one bedroom apartment. So Christmas tree fires are really, really dangerous. They are really, really serious. And for anybody that doubts that, these are not the kind of videos that typically shown publicly, but there are plenty of test fires that CAL FIRE and the federal government have conducted and really show the same thing. The impact of this one is you actually see somebody die. So with that, the other thing I want to note, and I'll toss it up and let the chief respond to it, is that in the IJ the other day, there was a little blurb on the county acquiring an option on the old golf course out on Sir Francis Drake. And the idea behind that was that part of that property would become new headquarters for Marin County Fire. And presumably that would include a countywide dispatch center for fire and emergency medical services, which is something that seems to be making sense as it sorts out. There are lots and lots of I's to dot and T's to cross, but that certainly looked like some positive news. And that's really all I have. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief White. You're muted. There we
My
go.
apologies. I just, that last bit of information you shared was breaking news to me. So I'll start with that and state that currently this is where the Marin County Fire Chiefs Association actually meets on a monthly basis, with the exception of tomorrow. For some reason, tomorrow is going to be a Zoom only meeting as opposed to us doing a hybrid meeting that we've been accustomed to doing. And at that San Geronimo golf course is presumably the location you're referring to that the county is interested in acquiring.
Yes.
Placing fire dispatch there has never been a conversation. Even last month, we never discussed that. And so that could very well be their long-term plan though. And I'll go into the dispatch portion a little bit later in my report, so you can understand at least what the initial or near-term fire dispatch center location should be, given the information that we have right now and the timelines that we have to operate within. And also, before I get started on my report, I did want to kind of try to make it briefer this month, just to make sure that those who are looking to come and join us here at Falkirk have the opportunity to get underway without having to rush and fight any traffic, et cetera, et cetera. So I look forward to seeing hopefully some of you there this afternoon. Commissioner Fonklesroyd, you indicated that you were working closely with Thomas and Danielle. I'm really glad to hear that that's finally getting some traction. I know you've been very patient. You've had stuff on queue going back to almost probably prior to my arrival, if not upon my arrival here in San Rafael. So I'm glad Thomas is finally in a position to engage. Now that we have Danielle on board, I think you'll start to see a lot of traction, and part of the community outreach and safety messaging that we've been wanting to put forward is going to get some traction here in the near future. So thank you for being so patient.
Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Commissioner Burford also for his efforts to kind of help calm the turbulent waters that were starting to surface in his neighborhood regarding some of the concerns that emanated from the parking signs and or the striping and or the messaging that occurred in the neighborhood, as we look to ensure that there's clear access and clear egress in those areas. And I know it's not a finished product at this point, but you know, as the NWPA is new, so are our staff in some instances, and so are some of our processes. And we'll continue to revise those things and try to become more efficient and also more responsive to the community as we continue to hear and get feedback about the things that we're doing well and those things that we can improve on. And so I just want to thank you for taking a very proactive approach to trying to smooth things over on our behalf. It's making a lot of difference. So I appreciate that. Now let me go back, and I guess I'll start my report, and I'll cover something that Chairperson Luckham had referred to earlier regarding us meeting back in person. I understand and I recall you had indicated an interest in trying to do so, I guess, in the start of the new year. My understanding is that the governor has not extended the emergency declaration at this point. I don't know that there's any intention on his part to do so, despite the rising numbers of COVID and or hospitalizations that are taking place from COVID RSV and some of the other things that are actually circulating in the environment right now. That being said, I believe the order expires on February 25th or thereabouts. And so as such, the expectation would be moving forward that effective March, those individuals who are meeting would be now meeting in person. And so I think you're just only a month or two off of what the intended goal and plan is from a state legislative body and or governor himself. So unless that changes between now and then, and it would, in my estimation, would have to be a steady rise in infections, a steady rise in hospitalizations, and perhaps maybe the arrival of some other variant that's now a very concerning variant. I understand that, here in Marin County, as an example, although we were the highly vaccinated and boosted, there's a reversal of sorts taking place where we're now in a position to be some of those areas that are affected the most, whereas in the past we had not been. And so there's a lot of recommendations right now about everyone masking up again and at least social distancing as best you can, washing your hands and staying masked when you're indoors and when you're around large groups of people. And so given that, I'm sure they're going to be monitoring this closely over the next several weeks to see, how things are trending and whether they're going to look to extend that emergency order or not. I'm doubtful, but you just never know how this goes based on what's happening in Southern California, what's happening in the South Bay, and what's happening in our state in general right now. So I'll certainly follow up with new information as that comes available. But for right now, from what I understand, we'll probably be targeting a March in-person opportunity again. So it's going to be the first time I've had the opportunity since joining almost 3 years ago. And so given that, it's going to be exciting. But I would hope there for those who find the convenience of the virtual or remote opportunity, that there may be some limited opportunities in that regard as well, but not really, certain on that just at this point. I understand there may be some legislation that that gives some occasional opportunities, but under only certain circumstances. And I don't have all that information at my disposal right now, but I'll certainly bring that forward in my next report. 5:30, as we indicated, Falkirk. We'll all be looking to meet and greet. Really glad that there's an opportunity moving forward. And this is, something that certainly wouldn't have been entertained this time last year as Omicron was surging. And so it speaks volumes about what's occurring right now with everyone's health and well-being, as opposed to the fears and the significant concerns we had last year this time when Omicron was surfacing and starting to become the infectious and still deadly virus. And so with that, the city of San Rafael is hosting the boards and commissioners today from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at 1408 Mission Ave. And if you're able to come, we'd love to see you. And if you're not able to come, we'll certainly eat all the good stuff on your behalf and tell you about it later. No, but really, we hope some of you are able to make it, if not all of you. And Commissioner Luckham or Chairperson Luckham, I completely understand wanting to get some rest. Unfortunately, yours truly was affected with COVID right around the Thanksgiving break, and found out I'm not impervious to it like I thought I was for the last 32 months or so. But didn't have really severe condition, just, a fever and a general malaise more than anything. And so, I'm really fortunate. I was fully vaccinated, fully boosted, but unfortunate that somehow or another this got a hold of me when I least expected it. So moving on from that, MWPA, this morning, the first ops technical committee meeting, or excuse me, not advisory technical committee, but the operations committee meeting took place. But I had to leave that meeting to come to another one regarding city manager recruitment. And so I can tell you that the work plan is getting underway for 23-24. And there's going to be a team of folks that are looking to continue some of the excellent work that's been put in place in the past, but some more streamlining is taking place. There's a more robust staff with the MWPA executive board than existed just a year ago this time. And so they've got additional staff that are specialists and or able to help move things, whether they be grants, whether they be the efforts towards a California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA compliance that really can bog down and slow processes. So Ann Krelock and Mark Brown are hitting the ground running. I probably will not be serving as operations chairperson for the coming year. Chief Tyler has expressed an interest in doing so. And I'm really grateful for that. He's texting me right now. But that being said, it may be timely if it turns out that I actually assume the responsibility of Marin County Fire Chiefs Association president for the next 2 years, which I'm not 100% certain that's going to happen. I'll know more tomorrow at our meeting tomorrow morning. And so given that, I'll update you on that as well, so you can hear firsthand what's going to happen in that regard. And so roughly more than $500,000 worth of grant funding has been provided to the grant funding resident grant program rather. And as such, we anticipate more funds will continue to be provided to community members who have special projects or pretty expensive projects that they could use financial support with. And that continues to be something that we're finding to be very, very helpful to those who have some frustration about the cost, because the costs are significant, as you all probably realize. Just trying to remove one tree, as an example, can cost thousands of dollars depending on the size and species of that tree. And so with that, there's some supplemental assistance that's taking place internally with our staff right now to try to get individuals some assistance that they can use and get some more people qualified to go out and compete and or bid on some of these projects, so that the community members can get help from not just a select few individuals who are charging, substantial amounts, but also others who may not charge quite as much or can do similar work, like topping off trees as opposed to taking them completely down. But more on that to follow. We'll say, excuse me, social media, MWPA has information and they'd like people to access it publicly. There's news articles on the MWPA website. There are definitely images that you could see before and afters, and some other things like the open space 37-mile open space break, which I believe may segue directly into what I think it was maybe Stan that mentioned it regarding either Caltrans or MWPA work. I think it may be a combination of the two, but probably driven by MWPA if I'm not mistaken.
Good.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. There's a lot of sources where you can find more information. So I encourage everyone to just take a few minutes to go take a look. Fire Safe Marin is probably going to be populating more again this year with a lot of educational content and videos. And so be on the lookout for more of that. We talked about COVID. I don't really think we need to go deep into COVID right now, given we just kind of spoke on it. And I think I've addressed some of these things, but I will just say this. Please continue to do your due diligence to protect yourselves, and wear masks, wash your hands. Be mindful of when you're in large crowds that anyone and everyone could be a carrier right now. We have no idea, and they could be carrying the common cold, the flu, RSV, and or COVID. We were worried about COVID and just one thing before. Now we've got a handful of things we have to be concerned about simultaneously. Here in the Public Safety Center, I've got one individual who's off with a minor cold. I've got another one who's off with pneumonia, and you had me with COVID. So just kind of shows you we're a small petri dish of what's going on in other locations as well. So just wanted to share that. Moving to the Marin County Fire Dispatch information, and I'll try to say it as succinctly as I can. Back in August, we all, the Marin County Fire Chiefs, met with Sheriff Scardina after he had just been newly elected. And much to our surprise, he indicated that he was interested in dissolving the contract for services that he provides to fire services currently. And there are a variety of reasons for this. Some of them stem from recruitment, retention challenges that law enforcement and or fire department dispatch centers are having in general right now. So it's an added workload and an added effort. A lot of overtime that happens, some of it mandatory, some of it not. The fire chiefs themselves had expressed some interest in getting some technological things accomplished that for one reason or another, they had not been accomplished. And so there was a little bit of frustration amongst the fire chiefs about that. And I think it was enough to prompt them to look and see whether or not there were opportunities to partner with, for instance, Sonoma County for a fire dispatch regional center. And of course, that was common knowledge to the sheriff that the fire chiefs were unhappy and looking at other opportunities and what would those look like. Although some of the other fire chiefs, much like myself and Chief Tyler from Nevada, were satisfied with the service overall. We just wanted some areas of improvement collectively as the fire chiefs for acquiring data and other technological things that we thought would be helpful for our personnel moving forward. And this was prior to Sheriff Scardinia's arrival. This was when Sheriff Doyle was. So given that, bless you, given that, I think, you know, the sheriff had been actually operating at a fairly favorable financial rate for us. They weren't cost recovering all of their funding that they could have been recovering for. And I think their estimate was low on what the recovery cost that they were missing out on was. That being said, we were kind of left in a quandary because when he stated that he wanted to dissolve the contractual relationship, he wanted to be done with this by July of next year. July of 2023 didn't leave us much more than about 9 or 10 months to try to stand up our own dispatch capability. And for those of you who understand what all is involved with reconfiguring a computer-aided dispatch system, trying to recruit, select, train, and prepare individuals to take on the responsibility of emergency medical and or fire dispatch, it's just not enough time to do something like that. Unless you were to just move over all of the staff that were at the Marin County Sheriff's Office over into our dispatch capability, which we may be able to track some of them, but we may not. It's really hard to say at this point. But that being said, a lot of analysis went into the numbers and the numbers of dispatchers that were needed, the numbers of support staff. If we were looking to perhaps build a command and control capability in the event there's a fast moving fire in Marin County, San Rafael, or anywhere, we would need to have some individuals with a lot of fire-based training who knew how to directly communicate with CAL FIRE and plan effectively when it came to evacuations and other things. So some more leadership in the dispatch center is now something that we can perhaps see that wasn't possible with the contractual arrangement that we had as it stands with the Sheriff's Department. And so these are opportunities, but they're also opportunities mixed with increased cost. And so this is where we're all trying to excuse me, land right now on, you know, how do we bill for this and how do we do so equitably, given the need for workstations, given the need for new staff, given the need to pay for fully burdened positions. So as you can imagine, this isn't the kind of thing that could be done as quickly as next summer. But in summary, Sheriff Scardinia has graciously opted to allow us to utilize the Los Gamos facility to run a parallel dispatch center. So this is why when Chairperson Luckham indicated that they're looking to purchase the San Geronimo site, I could see that potentially being a dispatch center down the road, not necessarily right now, because it takes so long to stand up that capability. When you've already got infrastructure at place at Los Gamos, it makes more sense to actually build out what's there. And I think really all they're going to do is provide a wall right between fire and law enforcement dispatch and provide us with the workstations. We'll reconfigure the CAD system for our use that's already on site, and we'll just be co-located for the foreseeable future. And with that, the sheriff has also agreed that, you know, 10 months is probably not going to work. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So he's looking to push out the deadline at least until perhaps February or March of 2024. So that gives us another reasonable, you know, 15 months or more at this point to continue working towards trying to develop something that's still going to work for us and be a seamless transition from what we have now to what we're going to be able to operate with. And the last thing I'll say about this is we did do our due diligence internally to see what it would be like to perhaps operate our own San Rafael fire-centric dispatch and provide services perhaps to others like Novato or Central Marin or Southern Marin or anyone else who had an interest. But I indicated earlier that law enforcement has had their challenges with trying to select, recruit, and retain staff. And so that's true also here for San Rafael Police Department. While they've got great staff on board, it's a thing that can be in flux at some point, some peaks and valleys. And I experienced this where I came from across the bay. And I got to tell you, it doesn't appear to be the position or the opportunity that prior generations of individuals saw when it came to public safety, whether it was law enforcement, EMS, fire, or fire or law dispatch. And so those challenges exist. The cost to provide the service would have been substantially higher than what currently the Marin County Fire Department is looking to contract with us on a cost share basis with multiple agencies. So right now it's more attractive to consider the offer that Chief Weber has put in place on using the Marin County Fire Department to provide those same services that the sheriff's providing. And so at this point, I think that's what we're going to continue to do, is explore that avenue, but also look down the road to determine what would it take for us to stand up our own dispatch capability right here at the Public Safety Center. It was in part built to provide dispatch services. Right now, obviously for the police, but if somewhere down the road, the fire department in Marin County decides, hey, we're getting out of the business, then where does that leave us? That leaves us trying to figure out our own devices once again. So I think we're going to take a pretty good look at that, pardon me, and try to be prepared if 60 months from now, we're looking to have a similar conversation again. Unfortunately, I hope that's not the case, but because I'd hate to see things be fragmented throughout the county as a result of that decision. But dispatch history within Marin County, as some of you can speak to a lot better than I can, is usually seeing some changes ebb and flow over the course of time and over the course of different players and different dynamics that impact, how you're able to succeed or how you're not able to succeed. And right now we're at one of those lower points in dispatch. And who knows, maybe 3-5 years from now, we're in a whole different situation, and that's the hope. So moving on from that, Station 54 and Station 55. I am happy to say these look like almost finished products, and you can tell by the photographs that they're coming along pretty nicely here. And I know the target date was the end of the year. I think that was a very aggressive target date. And when you look at the buildings, you think it's almost achievable. I mean, they're putting in so much work on these and getting them done. But I just have to say, this is phenomenal for the price that we paid. And I say that coming from a location where I was quoted $25 million for one station. And I said, there's no way. We're not going to spend the public's money that way. That's irresponsible. And it's just, to me, it seemed like price gouging, but it seemed like more than that, but I won't go into it. Not especially when I saw my neighbors just 2 years before pay $12 million for a similarly sized and positioned station. And so it just, sign of the times, right? But all that to say, the whole entire thing with the Essential Facilities program, it's just, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I got to give my hats off go to all of you, to our finance director, Nadine, to my predecessor, Chief Chris Gray, and to everyone else who's been involved in trying to make sure something like this launched and is launched as successfully as it has. It's made a world of difference in San Rafael's position for the next at least 4, 5, 6 decades with these state-of-the-art facilities and the renovations that are taking place. For all intents and purposes, these last 2 stations are brand new fire stations.
Yeah.
They're called renovations, but when you look at them and you understand what's been done, it's really a brand new station in probably everyone's eyes. And so I had the occasion to speak with one of the members who's always got great ideas, Engineer Mike McCarthy. I'm gonna just touch on this briefly, if you don't mind. Engineer Mike McCarthy had mentioned that, Station 55, and that's where he's assigned right now, says, when when the temporary structure comes down, we're going to have all of this space over here. And, maybe that's the ideal time to try to put something out to the community and or to those who are decision makers about how could that space really be utilized to the benefit of the neighborhood or to those who are perhaps recreational users of the waterway there, or for joggers, or for parents who are pushing in their children in strollers, or any number of uses that you might be able to put, a park there as an example. So he just had a bunch of ideas that I thought were certainly ideas that were worth considering. But I just say that to say there's already some thought being placed about that vacant lot right next to the station and how it could be something that could further the interaction between the firefighters and or the community members, or at least make it a safe space and an opportunity to maximize the use of that space for community members. And so I share that with you now to say that there's a couple of good ideas out there already. I don't know where this is going to land, but I just wanted to share that. And I told Mike I would do so. So I want to live up to my word, even though he's probably not going to see or hear this exchange today. So
Michael is an inspiration of ideas and a young man with a lot of energy. And for those of you who don't know the history, Station 55 has historically reached out to the community with a variety of activities. Their Meet the Firefighter days have happened frequently there with large crowds and a lot of children learning to man a hose and directed at balloons and things like that. So Station 55 has definitely been active in the community, and I see that as continuing.
All right, that's great. Great. And then last but not least, not all of you are going to be able to see this clearly, but I wanted to take a look back in time. And this month, 148 years ago, was the start of the San Rafael Fire Department. And in the course of that, as you consider some of the things that happened, it actually, the department started by individuals who were looking to push for volunteer effort to establish something meaningful. And over time, you know, everything was pulled by hand at one point, and finally they got on board with horse-drawn hose carts and things of that nature. And so Tom and Jerry, well, not the two mice, but Tom and Jerry are the two horses that are actually some of the original, excuse me, cart pullers, hose cart pullers prior to the arrival of steamed apparatus and other gasoline-powered apparatus. And so just wanted to show you that, you know, this department's come a long way from volunteers and bucket brigades to now state-of-the-art facilities, state-of-the-art apparatus, highly trained personnel to provide advanced life support. And we're looking to expand what we do in the way of the specialized services we provide. And we've certainly been able to do a lot of that with the support of the Fire Foundation, with some of our recent water-based trainings. And so we appreciate your ongoing support. And I just wanted to share that. And then as another look back in time, more recently in 2014, we got a snapshot of some of the commissioners in, which is Dr. Misrock, Lynn Thompson, Pete Martin, looks like Aaron Goldbus, Larry Luckham, Carolyn Lennert, and Tom Weathers. And so, you know, I know it's a blast from the past, but, you know, I'm kind of nostalgic that way. So I hope you don't mind that I pull and find photographs and insert them from time to time just for entertainment's sake. That being said, that's the conclusion of my report. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Anybody have anything else?
No.
Well, with that, we have had a relatively short meeting to end the year. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Be fire safe and have a wonderful time. Now, I haven't been to the boards and commissions galas for quite a number of years, but back in the days when I did go to them, the food was really good, especially the Swedish meatballs. If they still do that, try those. Other than that, have a great end to 2022, and we'll see you all in January of 2023. And with that, I'm going to gavel the meeting to a close at 4:48 p.m.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays to
everybody.
all.
Happy holidays. Thank you all.
Happy holidays.
All right.
Cheers.